But for those that don't know, this is my second time in both of these countries. And you'll never know that I was in these countries for the second time because I have absolutely zero footage to show for the first time I was there. Now you ask yourself, Stefan, why do you have zero footage to show that you were in Spain and Portugal the first time? Wouldn't that be something that you capture? You take pictures everywhere you go. You film everywhere you go. Why don't you have footage from these two locations? And I'll tell you why. The short answer is because I lost my fucking files. And that shit hurts every single time I say it. That's the short response. The long response that comes with a story. Now, the story begins with me having a Samsung T5. For those that don't know, that's an external hard drive. And me having a LaCie hard drive. For those that don't know, that's another external hard drive. When I went on this trip, I had a Samsung T5 in which I would back up all of my footage on at the end of each day. And then I also had a LaCie that I would put a second backup for all of this footage. And I would keep both of those in two separate locations throughout the duration of the trip. Long story short, I get back home, I keep the LaCie drive at home, and I keep the T5 hard drive on me, and I would always take that to class with me to edit. Editing in class, not highly recommended. However, it's what I did, and I still graduated. Very well, good GPA, but not recommended. So I would take my T5 hard drive with me to class. One day, I was getting ready for school and I couldn't find my T5 hard drive. So I said, what the fuck is happening? So I said, you know what? It's somewhere here. I remember because I was editing the night before. It's somewhere around here. I just can't find it. Let me take my LaCie drive to school with me, and then I'll find the T5 later. I get to school, I check my book bag, and I see both hard drives in there. So I was like, oh, all right, I just left my T5 in my book bag. All right, whatever. So at this point, one day, I have both hard drives on me at the same time. I say when I get home, I'll put the LaCie drive at home, and I'll continue doing what I usually do. Just edit off my T5. I get home, I don't put my LaCie drive back. I keep it in my book bag. And then I go to school the next day. And I'm editing off one hard drive. I still have both in my bag, though. I get home. I don't put the LaCie drive back again. So at this point, I'm going to school with both hard drives on me. Red flag number 1. Or maybe this is red flag number 3. At this point, I don't fucking know. But this one day I go to school and I can't find either of the hard drives. So I said, fuck it. It's probably at home. I'll check after this class. My lecture ends. I go home. I can't find either of the hard drives. Now my heart sinks to my stomach and I say, oh, fuck. If it's not at home, it has to be elsewhere. If my hard drives are elsewhere, then I'm fucked. I checked the building in which I spend 95% of my time on campus. Wasn't found there. I checked the buildings in which I spent 5% of my time there. Nothing was found there. So what do you do when you can't find your items in places where you're always at? You start checking places in which you've never been to in your life. I found out new buildings on this campus that I've never been to before. Looking for some shit that has zero probability being there. But I was just looking because I was fucking desperate. Long story short, searched for a few days, could not find anything. What do? As a worried person looking for their hard drives, you bet it, I go down to the police station on campus. Then I said, I'm missing something. They say, what, you lost your car or something? Nah. Did someone steal something from you? It's possible, but I doubt that as well. What did you lose? I lost these 2 hard drives. They kind of look like this. And I print out papers on how these hard drives look. That's how desperate I was. These cops looked at me and said, you know what, son? all right, we'll keep an eye out. What the fuck did I expect cops to do? I don't know. But I was desperate and I printed out pictures that they didn't give a fuck about. And long story short, I just never found it. To this day, I don't know where the fuck they are. I like when people lose a dog and then they post up, photos around, the neighborhood and shit. That's what I did on campus. Nobody ever contacted me back. I remember telling my friends that I was going to post these things around like campus, and in their face, they seen how worried I was, and they were like, oh, yeah, do that. But I know in the back of their mind, they were like, you're a fucking loser. And I understand. Because that shit, looking back now, is a little bit nuts. Have you found these hard drives? No, nobody know what the fuck hard drives look like, bro. So, yeah, that's my story on how I not only did I go to Spain and Portugal that summer and lost all my footage, I went to over 8 countries that summer. That was my first time going to Africa. I went to Kenya, Tanzania, what were other countries? I went to London, Spain, Portugal, Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia. I went to Egypt. I can't even remember. I went to a lot of fucking places, had a lot of fucking content, and I just lost that shit. All of it. But about like a month after that, 2 months after that, I just said, you know what? Fuck it. You gotta brush it off. Like, you can't. I was hurt. I was sad as fuck. Like, it was so serious, my friends couldn't even make fun of me because of it. Later on, yeah. But like immediately, that's how you know something is so serious. When your friends, my friends, wasn't even making fun of me for losing this shit. We make fun of each other for everything. I think we all got into car accidents, and then we said a joke right after that person crashed. Ah, you dumbass. Like, yeah, this was so serious, they didn't even crack jokes immediately. My brother didn't even crack jokes immediately. So about like a month or two after that, I just shook it off and was just like, all right, the fuck are you going to do? It is what it is. And I told myself, I kind of like psyched myself into thinking positive, and I said, you'll go back there one day. You can't get the content that you got already. Nothing can ever be remade. However, you'll go back there one day. And I was just saying this to keep myself positive. However, I didn't actually know that I was going back, but I believed I could. And I hate when people say, oh, you never know when you're going back to a place. Like, at this point, and like I said, I don't say this shit to flex. I say this because it's possible. I've been to over 30 countries. I'll go back to anywhere I once traveled to. And I believe that. That doesn't mean I'm not going to get a certain shot because I could just think I can come back at a later point. No. But I said it, and then fast forward, 4 years later? That was in 2019. We're in 2023. Fast forward 4 years later, and just traveled 9 days in the same exact places that I once traveled to, and lost all that content plus more. So yeah, you can always travel to whatever place you go to again. That, ladies and gentlemen, was a clip from a full episode of the Live from 61 podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, I ask that you listen to the full podcast episodes up now and running on YouTube, streaming services, and wherever the fuck else you listen to podcasts. Thank you for listening once again. You have a good one.